I can What's up, guys? Just give me one sec. Let me set it up so we can have the chat and the screen. What's going on? What's going on? How's everybody doing? Get started in a minute. Just give me a sound check. Sound check on background noise and mic volume. We'll get started. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Should be a fun stream. Sound is good. Let me lower the dog is doing good. I don't know, can you guys see the dog back there? It's kind of blurred. Kind of, hey, wake up. Say hi. Oh, hello. She's good. So, long story short, for the last week and a half, she's been whipping her head around, and she whips her head so hard. Let me turn the volume down a little bit. She whips her head so hard that when she's wearing one of the collars that she has, it's got a really thick buckle on it, and the tips of her ears are really thin. So from whipping her ear really hard, and she has kind of an infection, and that tip of the ear smacking into the collar, it splits the tip of her ear. So this morning she was shaking a ton and spraying blood everywhere in our house. So yeah, but she's good now. I took off, we have this wrap for her head, but I took it off and I put this powder that's a clotting powder on her ear. It's the same stuff that we use for the horses as well. All right, anyway, for those of you that are new, thank you for tuning in. My name is Ryan, also known as Kenner Clark on Twitter, and on behalf of my partner, Josh Rager, I want to thank you guys. I've been streaming now consistently for the last couple months. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I host a call-in right after for a half an hour. So streams run anywhere from an hour to hour and a half, and then I take a 30-minute break, and then I host a call-in, which is very similar to Twitter Spaces, but in my opinion, it's superior. So we're going to talk about Bitcoin. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a rant in the beginning. It's going to be funny. First things first, so I don't forget, because I might be a little bit rusty from the weekend, I haven't streamed since Thursday. I forget how to stream, right? None of what I say is financial advice, right? Strictly for entertainment purposes only. I think you guys have heard that ad nauseum at this point. You understand, the deal. You're responsible for your own choices in the market. And shout out to Phemex. Phemex is, the link is down below. We've been partners with Phemex for 2 years at this point. Phenomenal exchange, no KYC if you don't want to, and 200 pairs of spot futures and yield if you want to just stay in stable coins. So it's 7 to 11%, I think. Anyway, hopefully everyone is doing well. Yeah, it's a hot New York day. So I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I dealt with and just to get this out of the way really quickly, this is not going to be a PG stream. None of these streams are PG. I am your typical outspoken New Yorker. So I dealt with an absolute fucking crazy pants over the weekend. So just to paint a little bit of a picture, we can get a quick laugh about this person. I'm not going to say who they are because I don't want to make them famous, because they lost their account and now they have 150 followers. So they went, they fell into, they fell back into obscurity. So anyway, there was this back and forth about Celsius Network and this girl that worked for Celsius, and she had done porn before, whatever, right? So who the fuck cares? If you don't like that, then don't invest in Celsius, right? Don't put your money with Celsius. Okay, you don't have to go on the internet and just absolutely blow this person up. But there are some absolute losers out there, right? There are some kids that just sit in a dark basement and sniff their fingertips all day, don't see any sunlight, no vitamin D, no tea whatsoever, 100 pounds, haven't seen sun in so long that their skin is basically translucent, and they just love to find people on the internet to try to tear down and try to cause trouble. So anyway, I had said something about it being classless, and then this person attacked me, and this person's clearly such a child, because they're posting pictures of dragons as their header and a fucking anti-hero in their header, whatever, an absolute loser. Anyway, so this person actually, so I'm doxxed, right? I am completely doxxed. Everyone sees my face all the time, right? Before I was Cameron Clark, I was Ryan Cameron Clark. Before that, I was a completely doxed person. Like, face picture and everything, right? I share my pictures all the time. I tell you guys I live in New York. I show you pictures of my horses, my family, my house. Like, I don't know. It doesn't completely bother me. That might not be the best idea, but whatever. So this person actually like scoured the internet and found what is like readily available to anybody, right? Again, I'm a public person, right? You're not doing anything by showing my face. They wrote up like a blog about me, and the blog is so terrible. It's like a blog written by a really shitty AI, right? You know those blogs that are just like machine learning, AI, they create like an article and you know that there's no way a human could have written it because it is so fucking dumb, right? It misses like a complete human element. So this person went off, right? One, the thing that bothered me the most about this, right? Because everything this person said was completely false, right? They began with shroom, which I told you guys so many times. I don't hold alts. Like, I paper hand the fuck out of them. Like, I paper hand things so badly that I miss out on 20, 30x, right? But I've been completely transparent about that. Wasn't a VC ever, never got seed rounds with Shroom or GSwap. I don't even think they had VCs. I'm pretty sure it was free if you farmed. I was late to the party. I am late to the party with every alt because I'm a Bitcoin trader, and ETH trader maybe. But as far as alts go, like, I'm late. I'll join a momentum. I dump fast as fuck. You guys know. So, and again, excuse my language. I'm from New York, Italian, Greek kid, like, it's whatever. So, I'm not a kid anymore. I forgot about that. But, so this person, the thing that bothered me the most, this person posted a picture of me that I fucking hated, okay? There's a picture of me, and I hated it because it was for a company my sister started. And a long time ago, this person thinks I'm 29. This picture was like this is almost 10 years ago at this point. They're like, this Brian is 29 years old. Dude, I'm not 29. I'm almost into my 40s at this point. So they posted a picture of me that I hated, but I took it from my sister because she started a company, and we were at my family's house, and at the time she was doing her first interview, right? So all I did was sit in the background of the picture. You know, she listed me as someone who did art for her because I'm actually a pretty decent artist. So there were a couple sketches I did for her. So she just said, you know, this is my company. These are my brothers. You know, they did everything they could to help me. You know, you could call me and my brother, you know, one of the first investors in her company. My parents didn't give us like any money or anything. I am not rich. Once again, let me just reiterate this. He said I grew up in the Hamptons. I grew up in Huntington, Long Island. I don't live in Huntington anymore. I don't care if you go to Huntington and look for me. That's where I grew up. I grew up in a very middle-class area of Huntington, Long Island. Look it up. Come visit. Great place, okay? Not the Hamptons. Very far from the Hamptons. Said that my dad was super rich. My dad worked 3 jobs, okay? I was very far from rich, okay? I was happy to be middle class. What other things? I'm just going to finish this up because it was just absolutely... something about me working at Lehman Brothers. He literally took a clip where I was finishing the sentence saying that I missed an opportunity to work at Lehman Brothers because of the financial crisis, okay? When I came out of college, it was the year before the financial crisis. I missed the opportunity to work at Lehman Brothers. I missed a lot of opportunities. Of course I didn't work there. So why he would say that I worked there when I'm telling you I didn't work there? Like, the guy is trying to LARP for me, basically, okay? So, I don't know. This kid, the thing that bothered me the most was he posted a picture of me with a bad hair day. All right, I don't, that's really it. I mean, the other picture's pretty good, pretty flattering. You know, we hold ourselves, I try to hold myself pretty decently. I dress nice. Posting a picture of me as if like khaki pants. This was a picture on the 4th of July where I'm wearing like salmon chinos and a linen shirt because it's the summer, right? So, I don't know, whatever. This kid's an absolute loser, obviously. I ended up getting his first account banned. Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people out there that don't have anything to do with their time besides make up like really bogus stories. And last thing, and I've said this, and I'm sorry for going on this like tangent, rant, whatever. I've said this so many times. Every beginning of the year, I delete all my tweets. All of them, all right? So from January 1st to December 31st, okay, if you show up at the end of this year, you want to save all my tweets, go ahead, because on January 1st, bloop, gone, all right? I learned to do this from Salsa Tequila, from Nomad, and a few other people that said, hey, dude, you're getting to be a pretty big person right now. You say some bad shit sometimes, and I do, excuse me. I don't say anything that's like really that bad. But I do say things that are like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have said that. You know the best way to deal with that and make sure it doesn't come back to haunt me? And even if it's not something that's not serious, it's to fucking delete them. Okay? And I have a right to delete them because it's my Twitter. You know? And not for nothing, I use this service that deletes. Okay, so I use this service that deletes everything. I could actually type in things that I want to delete specifically. So if there was anything with Shroom or GSwap, which went down with everything, I could have just keyworded that and deleted all those. Instead, what did I delete? A pretty phenomenal wall, honestly, guys. I could have seeked clout for the next 3 or 4 years with everything I've said that's turned out right. So like, okay, some bad calls were deleted. That looks negative. I don't fucking care. So much good shit was deleted that I could never unearth again. So it is what it is. This person is absolutely cringe. Don't be like this, guys. Don't be a person who is upset that other people, took themselves out of a situation, are succeeding, happy, whatever. All right? Just do your own. Get yourself out of whatever bad situation you're in. Wake up every day. Try to fucking make yourself a better person. There's so many people out there that they're lost, right? All right, so that is done. I didn't want to go on that long rant, but the article is out there if you want to look at it. It's absolutely fucking hilarious, right? I don't want to share this person's page. You could easily find it. I'm not going to share it on YouTube. They have like 150 followers now. Good luck ever getting all your followers back because I think they had well over 20,000. Good luck getting it back. You'll never get them back. They're completely irrelevant, and we don't have any more time for this. All right, so let's say hi to everybody. Proof of pants. Proof of pants. Oh, you saw my pants. Yes, proof of pants. Yeah, so, yeah, like, I don't understand. Everyone has a history. Yeah, but I'm like, so, oh, and the other thing, this is the best thing ever. So, I went to Hofstra University, you guys. Hofstra University. It's in Hempstead, Long Island. I lived there for 2 years, commuted the rest. Hofstra University, private school, not an Ivy League school. There's plenty of ivy on the building. It's actually a pretty nice arboretum, though. But if you ever want to know where I went to college, I went to Hofstra. All right, so I'm just scrolling through the chat real quick. All right, good stuff. Okay, guys, you know me. Like, I don't not rant. I used to rant all the time. I'm just not a person, like, if someone, first of all, I don't think anyone would say anything negative to me in person. I kind of never get negative responses to people. You don't normally say things to people that are like twice your size and look like they could absolutely stomp you. So I never have an issue in real life. It's only on the internet that you run into, I don't know, keyboard warriors. All right, so let's take a look at the charts. Yes, waking up every day is a good idea. Yeah, it's Ryan, not Clark. Clark is the name of one of our horses. So first things first, 17 bidding is going to summarize this after. Really quickly, you don't have to, 17 bidding, you don't have to summarize that whole, absolutely ridiculous rant. But he does a great job of summarizing all the streams. So that'll be available after. If any of you guys have any questions, if there's something you missed, the guy does an absolutely phenomenal job summarizing all the streams. So we had a significant move outside of what was, I think, where were we? Last week I ended up during the stream, I went over the trade where I basically called the bottom. Didn't hang on to the entirety of that trade. Not going to sit here and LARP and say that I did. I ended up talking about how spreads blew out. It was a clear sign that the market was possibly, we had possibly been finding or on our way to finding a turning point, at least in the short term. Ended up rejecting downside. So that's great and all. Ended up back inside of the range. The same thing that's been happening for the last, what were we on? We were like on 14 or 13 days up until then. It was Memorial Day weekend, so I pretty much took a good amount of time away from the charts, away from the charts. I hope you guys did too. So we accepted back within the range, covered from one side of the range to the other. Again, this market has been very rewarding for people that are willing to just trade the range, willing to basically just trade from level to level. We lost all of the major levels on the chart. So this is great, right? The S&P today basically recovered the entire move down. So I think we're almost at round trip. We're almost at being completely out of the red. Maybe we're at like a couple tenths of a point. But we had a good move, right? We had a significant move from the value area low to value area high. Had a little bit of chop around here, but ultimately held the prior value area high. You guys know that I prioritize value area highs, value area lows, and composites, especially when they're being respected. Again, this is going on 2 weeks. So we had an expansion upward. We expanded into an area where, I had mentioned, let me look at a semi-naked chart first. Just again, go over the high time frame stuff first. I don't like to constantly reiterate this, but just to drive home that not a whole lot has changed. So your monthly level, let me make this naked. Monthly level, monthly lows close, right? Still a ways under there. Weekly level, still under our weekly lowest close of last year. Or now we're actually just flirting around with it, which isn't bad. But this entire area, I had mentioned before that I definitely would want to see that we don't just kind of have presence within here, because what I was talking about from here, what's that? Let me change the ink size. From here to here was a relative uncertainty about how far we could go, right? Just that if we accept above this level, if we accept above, what had been our 13, 14-day composite, that we would likely see an expansion through the structure. But I didn't know where we might see some kind of front-running behavior. Didn't want to, what did I say the last stream? Didn't want to blindly short it, because again, we could have a much more significant squeeze upward. Might have something that ends up easier to short if we fall back under here after squeezing up here. But the idea is like from here to here, I don't know, right? Here to here, I don't know. All I do know is that I'm not really that bullish unless we're back above inside of this prior range. So just to drive home like one high time frame point first before going down and looking at sort of the intraday stuff. As long as we're not back within that range, it was basically, a range that we were within for a quarter, right? The entire first quarter into where we are now going into June. So going into, on our way into finishing the second quarter, unless we're back up within there, I just think that, hey, what are you going to have in a downtrend? You're going to have, violent rallies, throwbacks, and it's really important to not get like overly, or rather get overwhelmed, get overwhelmed by significant moves to the upside after we've been like really struggling for a long period of time, right? After we've been grinding down, breaking down now. We have what? How many weeks in a row did we have that were red? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Was that 10 or 9? Who knows? I could count, right? But it's been a one-way trip on the weekly. You're going to have, at some point, you're going to have mean reversion, right? What characterizes a trend is not like price just overtaking one specific level or a change in a trend. It's a change in the overall trend's behavior. So, a downtrend is going to have violent throwbacks, right? Even in a bear market, you're going to have what are considered or called bear market rallies, right? A rally originally was a term that was specifically used for upside activity in a bear market. Now it's kind of, applied to bull markets and bear markets, and you'll hear something said like bear market rally rather than just rally, which might be used, in a bull market as well. 9 weeks. So like, I'm happy. It was cool to be able to capture some meaty upside after we reclaim the top of the range, and honestly not even focus on price at all. Just kind of stay in longs, comfortably in position, gardened, went to the store, enjoyed my time, barbecued, didn't mess with anything. I posted yesterday when I was at the gardening store, not really changing any positioning, don't see a reason to, and I finally ended up taking profit yesterday evening. So nothing has really changed. If this is a bottom, as I've said, many times before, if this is a bottom, we need to see a prolonged period of, negative funding, basis flattened, and because bottoms don't just bounce with, some kind of V-shaped reversal, we assume rightly so that this will probably take some time. Like, let's say that this is, like, let's go to a different Bitcoin chart real quick. Let's say that this is, a bottom in the making, right? And it's something similar to down here, where we had, very strong series of candles into the low, finally found some kind of support. Bottoms take time, absent a major catalyst. This was a catalyst, right? So, I'm sorry, you guys can't see this. This is a bottom, right? This is a catalyst. This would have probably been a bottom. This would have probably been your longer term accumulation structure. So the idea that this will just do this straight up, I think is really asinine. So either way, I think you're due for sideways action. But I think it's reasonable to expect that you're going to have plenty of great trading ahead, right? Plenty of great trading ahead. Obviously, there's still some zip to price. The one thing I will say, though, is that alts are definitely extremely illiquid. Extremely illiquid. Perp today, so Perp Protocol, moved, I think it moved 20%, the first 20% on like 150K worth of volume. So 150K, maybe 200K buy. That's it, right? Cut through the book like butter, up 20%, right? Everything is really thin, all right? So high time frame wise, nothing has really changed. Like, this is an area where you could expect the bottom to develop, right? One of the things we talk about is this 20 period on the weekly, so 20 period moving average. In the past, this has been sort of a golden area to get involved long term, a value buy. If you think of like the 200 weekly as like the mean, we got well away from the mean. In bull markets, we get well away from the mean, well away from the average. So this makes it sort of like a good opportunity to buy value again. This can meet us, right? So we don't have to like drop down to it violently. It's just a moving average. So it's going to meet price over time if price just moves sideways. So if we continue to move sideways and we find support here, we see that, again, it's not like derivatives getting over involved to the upside, and we still see that there is a ton of negativity coming into the market and markets are still finding relative stability. Then why can't this bottom here? Like, why do people think that markets have to continue to crash? Like, markets to a degree are going to price in, they're going to price things in, right? So all the, the rate hikes, they didn't do a perfect job of pricing them in, right? QT, which is beginning, not going to do a perfect job of pricing it in, okay? But it's sort of like when you're at a supermarket lines are pretty efficient too, right? You go up to a supermarket and you go to leave and there's a bunch of cashiers and you have the same access to information everyone else has. You get to see how many people are on each line. Things kind of even out in general, but it's not perfect, right? It's not the case that every time that you go to pay in the supermarket, every line is perfectly averaged out, and there aren't certain lines that are not maybe completely empty, right? So it's not exactly efficient. That's the supermarket analogy. It's been used before. But it's not the case that this market is going to perfectly price things in. And it's not the case that the market has to continue to break down, like, massively. There's no reason that has to happen, right? If we continue to see that, all of the continued hawkish language, all of the QT, when QT begins, if we continue to see that the market continues to base out, like, it is what it is, right? We had a 20% plus drawdown. We have a bear market that we're within, but we don't have to go, like, there's no rule that says we have to drop back down to 3K. So high time frame wise with BTC, I mean, not a whole lot has changed. This would be an area, though, just from a development standpoint, where you could expect a bottom to start to build, right? You have a wick down here that hasn't necessarily been revisited. I think that more often than not, you end up revisiting levels like that. But it could mean we do something like this, right? We break up, and then we end up chopping back down, and we go on to build, again, a longer-term bottoming structure. And I don't want to use this as, it's not a fractal at all, but it's kind of like, when we did that back here, when we had the first bottom, you had one-sided market into the low, big pop-up finally, and then the market took another, 4 months before it ultimately began to really change course again. So this is a much longer bull market. There's a lot more money involved, so I think that it's going to be a little bit more slower moving. I think the benefit is that we're close to equities now. So as long as equities continue to do well, and equities continue to move up over time, I don't see a reason why crypto wouldn't continue to benefit from that high beta relationship. What I will say before going down to the other charts really quickly, anyone who thinks we decoupled and that we're going to decorrelate rather, and that's it, I don't know. It's just not the case, right? I mean, if we look at just the last 24 hours of price action, I mean, you tell me, what's this look like? We're basically right back where we started before we had a 2-day period where it kind of dropped off. But this is important because, again, the S&P has done what Bitcoin is doing as well. It started doing it a little bit sooner. So the S&P, the ES, right, is 6-7% off the lows. This is a little bit more than that, excuse me. So 10% retook a prior high, so very significant bounce. But this is like, again, it could be just a bear market rally, right? So bear market rally, a good amount of hedging unwinding, monthly end, rebalancing flows, right? There's reason to assume that crypto is basically just following the ES still, or the S&P. And I say ES because, again, it's just a futures product. But the indices, right? So following stocks, behaving as a risk asset would to the benchmark. All right. Does anyone have any questions about the high time frame? I could have probably just said right from the get-go, like, not a whole lot has changed. But I just had to reiterate that we haven't really done much. Let me just go through the chat. Summarize the rant. Yeah, I don't think we bottomed yet. There are people, though, that talk about QT as something that's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily need to have a massive impact on prices. So, there's a guy named Ian Shepherdson. He's a phenomenal macro follow on Twitter. And he talks about how it's possible that all of the fears, even the Fed's fears of inflation, market fears of interest rates, are way overextended. Right? So we've really overdone it, put it that way. One sec. I think that, so if, for example, so you said 4,300. So if the ES reclaims 4,300, that is a significant move right there. I mean, that is one, that's like another 5% above where we are. We're talking about off the lows. Oh, it's probably like 3 to 4%. Yeah, I think that might be enough. Put it this way: if the ES continues to move up, or the S&P continues to move up, whatever takes us up here, I'm happy for, right? If we get up here, this is the only place, though, where I'm really going to say that things are, they possibly have drastically changed. And it's not that I mean if we just get up there. I should reiterate that it's about, acceptance and not necessarily just presence. So it's not like if we're just up here that suddenly we're going to be really bullish. It's if we're actually finding support in here and development up there, and we're talking about days rather than just minutes. Because it's entirely possible, like I said, the reason why I wouldn't want to blindly short this is because it's a really significant technical level. It's more than likely that a lot of people would have the same idea, and you could get that kind of blow through because of that ends up giving you something that bleeds all the way back down, and then you have a much more easy short to get behind after you've already seen the failure. And something like this, that kind of very exhaustive move that wicks down immediately, that's not acceptance, right? That's clearly a sign of rejection. So acceptance would be, the big difference. And it's possible that, I think that I should say actually that it's unlikely that that Bitcoin does that actually without stocks going up. So yeah, I think that it's honestly probably contingent on stocks continuing to outperform. And it's almost a no-brainer, because if you just look at this morning, when the S&P lost its footing, right? ES, if you're charting ES, the S&P, same thing, right? I know I confuse some people sometimes, but when the S&P lost its footing, Bitcoin immediately followed. So I said this morning that it's kind of easy just to trade this with tape and open interest. So it's a strong move. Don't get me wrong. Strong move outside of what was, again, 14 days, 13 days composite. So that's blue box. This might look a little messy. Here's your weekly VWAP. So holding the top of one standard deviation above that VWAP. So you could think that we're just pressing against the top of weekly value. So strong move outside of here. We haven't tested these highs going back to, this is May 10th. So right around 32.7. This is right around, 32.7. Haven't tested that yet. I personally would want to see, before reestablishing any positions, I would want to see that we're able to come back down to this structure, right? So prior comp value area high. Between there and, let's say, right around weekly VWAP, there's a good amount of confluence. If we could find support here, so imagine we do something, I think you end up something like this. So we probably have another leg up, but then maybe we have something that breaks down and takes us back down to this level. This is ultimately where I would want to define a long position. I think it's a good risk reward because I think the chances are that if you retest this and you accept back within this range, you're just going from, you know, point A to point B again, right? So from the value area high, terrible writing, why would I even do that? Value area high to value area low. So this is a really good risk reward level, and that's like, you know, say between, we'll say between 30,005 and 31.2, right? So there's your weekly VWAP, that line right there. So I think that that would be a good area to look for some kind of meaningful support to be found if this is a real, you know, if this is a real trend change. Wouldn't want to chase this right now. I think that a move of, you know, this kind of strength, it should take some time to develop. It should give us a pullback. I don't foresee a case of us just continue. I wouldn't want to see this continue to squeeze up from here. I think that the more it squeezes up sort of parabolically, the more likely it is to be a complete failure. So if anything, you would want to see it kind of base out up here, retest this kind of chunky area between VWAP and the value area high, and see sellers get trapped there, right? So see sellers really hit the bid there, and again, it to remain getting absorbed. All we've seen in the last couple of weeks is open interest. You know, we've seen traps build up very obviously in open interest at, you know, at levels. So if we look at, this is just more recently what happened, one sec, what happened this morning. So here's our open interest, right? So this is aggregated stablecoin open interest. So you have what looks like a breakdown. I'll show you the TPO in a second and show you what this was, because this is definitely not something you initially sell. So into that low, you have a very significant increase in open interest, no continuation. All we've been doing for the last 2-3 weeks is seeing traps get set like this, where you have like, it's between like 3K to 10K BTC build up into a structure, right into the end of a move. It's with price. And then after that, we have a squeeze, right? So a significant squeeze to follow. So that has been basically the story, the entire structure until here. So leading up to the breakout, rather, I should say. So leading up to the breakout, we had trap after trap after trap. So for example, the lows back here, it's skewing kind of funny now, but hold on. It's gonna fuck around and do that. Excuse me. I gotta turn, there we go. Nope, still not working. Why are you doing that? Okay, so you see it right now, right? Into the low, massive increase in open interest, very big squeeze. Another, in this case, a ton of open interest on the way up, and then you squeeze it on the way back down. Same thing down here, right? So open interest moving the direction of price. Okay, then squeeze. So this was the range, right? Where it was almost like there were a few whales that were just trying to position, anticipating some kind of breakdown or breakout. And this is the first time that we've had, again, the move from the top of the prior value area high is it's right here. So you could see that since then, open interest went up pretty significantly. So here's your squeeze. So squeeze that open interest. All right, you guys following? Now we're kind of flat. Slight increase in open interest for what has been mostly price moving up, aside from this little spike. So it's possible that we've seen most of the fuel actually run out. So that's something to think of, right? We've seen a significant amount of fuel run out. Most of these moves have sort of revolved or relied on that fuel. So absent that fuel, if we don't have a significant, spot push, this could very well be the end of this portion of the move. Does this all make sense? Just looking at the chat real quick. I don't think the length of time matters that we spent at 30K. I don't think it was adequate enough to be a bottom. I don't think we spent enough time at 30K, excuse me, for it to be, for us to. So just to say it clearly, I don't think we V-shaped and we're going to bounce up to, I don't think we're going to new all-time highs from this. I think we're looking at just a large range that we're going to be making. So what that means is don't get, so I should say something just to warn you. This doesn't mean that we come back down here now, right? If this holds, and we start just marching upward, I'm getting behind every single move, right? I'm not saying like I'm shorting this because we're coming back here for short, right? Or I'm not playing this because we're coming back here for short. I just mean that I think that it's more than likely that this thing does not bottom without revisiting this area again. That very well could mean that we, and sorry that the chart looks messy, but I'm just leaving it on the daily for a sec. It very well could mean that we do something like this, right? End up re-accepting in here. Spend all this time even before we come back down here, right? So I would just be mindful of that, right? I'm just playing the chart from level to level. It's been fairly easy to trade because we've seen very obvious crowding after moves. But if we start to see a strong spot lead and we start to see that again, as moves, as we're pressing up, let's say that funding gets really negative and that this is constantly just faded, then it is what it is in the time being. I just think it's more than likely we revisit over time. I'm sure everyone answers yes in person. I do that when I'm watching things as well. So real quick, just looking at TPO, and this is why let me just change the screen. So here's the composite we were talking about, right? This composite has been extremely useful for, again, what was this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It's been longer. It's like my brain didn't count Memorial Day weekend. 17-day composite, first time accepted out. This is a really strong trending move, right? But we have an inefficiency down here that more than likely gets revisited. And it's not just this revisit. So if this is a trend day, and this is the first day of balance, right, where it's semi-balanced, it's more than likely that we take, 2-3 days to balance out, even before you get something that maybe continues up. But if this is a strong move, the first area that you would expect is this inefficiency to act like some kind of support. We got that already, but I don't think that it's the kind of structure that visits this in the day that follows this trend move and then just continues up from there. Again, if it does that and we just continue to march upward, then it makes it, in my opinion, a much weaker structure. Versus like, here's an expansion out, trend day, you could basically just combine these. So a double distribution. What normally follows double distributions? We get like a couple days balance. And what we would want to see is, listen, it might not come all the way down here, right? It might not come down close to the value area high. It might not come down to the weekly VWAP. But at least we have, this sort of 31 to 31 level, right? So right here, single prints and upward. This is an area where I would initially honestly look for sellers to get caught off sides. So look for absorption, look for continued rejection, right? So if we balance out and sellers try to walk this through this level again, if we see them getting trapped here, I think this is just continuously a good long until it no longer works. So I am, if we get a move down here, this is where, and this should clarify because it makes it sound like I would only take, I'm talking about one trade that exists here and another trade that exists here. This, for me, would be a more significant trade. So a longer term swing trade possibly. All day, if we visit this little pocket and we see that sellers get caught off sides here, and it's more than likely, after a double distribution move like this without any kind of, development like this yet, it's more than likely you see that sellers get caught offside here a couple times. So another revisit of, go back to the main screen, that's sort of right at this wick again. Maybe we move a little further up. Who knows how we do it, but something like this, right? Sellers getting caught offside here again. I'll take that long again all day, right? And yeah, your weekly VWAP is actually right there. The meteor confluence, meteor, not meteor, is obviously back down where more of the structure was established. I definitely, I closed out my long, and even though we're possibly looking at what I think is maybe we haven't one more exhaustive move up, I don't want to. I honestly don't really want to look for the short here because I think that the market has been waiting for, and maybe the short works out, right? Who knows? Maybe something like this works out, and then fuck, like next week we're down here. I think that the market's been really waiting for this kind of relief, and I still think that it's more than likely you have. I think it's more than likely we actually have some more upside because there are still people that are very much in denial. And kind of calling this already, fake out. And I haven't seen this honestly in this with this level of intensity for a long time. So the entire way down, it was like, yeah, you got a couple people saying it, you got a couple people not saying it, but I think that this might be a little bit of a hated rally. So, yeah, does that all make sense? After this kind of structure, though, I don't think you get something. Like I said, if it's strong, I would want to see that we have at least 2-3 days of balance. Flagging like this, trapping some shorts here, and then possibly getting a stronger third move. And at that point, if we did it from here, after moving sideways for a couple of days, then I would take the move a little bit more seriously because it would be a more robust structure. Just go through the chat. It's weird though because on the way up, this move. We'll go to the chart in a sec. Let's see. Stays and stables, yeah. So I said something the other day, and I said I basically have been just fading the direction of open interest. That sounds kind of funny. Because open interest is obviously, long and a short, two sides opening up. It's just the amount of outstanding contracts open. But when I say fade the direction of open interest, I'm talking about if price is moving up and open interest is moving up with price, or if price is moving down and open interest is moving up with, price moving down. I'm talking about fading the new participants that are coming into the market. Right, and you could assume that if price is moving up and open interest is moving up, it's more than likely aggressive longs. And if price is moving down and open interest is going up, it's more than likely aggressive shorts. Mr. Ryan is relatable and almost like an unknown cousin. Thanks, man. We'll go back to the OI in a second because that kind of sounded a little funny if I didn't show you a chart, but. In this move up, it's interesting that we had such a significant drop in spot CBD. And my spot CBD right here, this is Binance, Bitfinex, Coinbase, and FTX, and Kraken. And then my stablecoin futures CBD should actually be Bybit, FTX, and Binance. So you're starting to see Bybit get a little bit aggressive, but there's no major offsideness, you want to say, yet on the long side. But you are seeing that spot CBD is actually, it looks like selling against this move. But not for nothing, the spot CBD is kind of divergent against, against price. So we'll see. I mean, it's not like this is really that overextended yet. I think that we do have probably a little bit more upside. But you can see on the entire duration of this move, it's been on, predictive funding is going positive, funding is positive. So it's not like this is a really faded rally yet. We see that in the breakdown, like in the small breakdowns, there are brief periods where open interest spikes, and it's worth fading that. But it's not like this is being entirely faded on the way up by derivatives. It's possible you could say that maybe spot is somewhat distributing into this, if anything. Right? This is my, where is it? Oh, it's gone. My car is here today. So that's good. It arrived at a port in New York. It's not here yet. It might take a few days still. Does this all make sense, guys? You guys have any questions? Thoughts on ETH. Thanks, man. Let's take a look at ETH. ETH is in somewhat of a similar position to BTC, right? But it just looks a little bit better from a market structure standpoint. Still below the monthly, so monthly level, well below that. So, I don't normally look at the monthly unless it changes, right? Unless we're close to a significant change in monthly market structure, and we had that. So, this is not something to again, get too bullish about, because this is a big change. Weekly structure looks a little bit more intact though, right? I mean, we're still holding last year's lowest weekly close, but I think it's still, you're still sort of in the same position as BTC, where the most significant level is overcoming, these prior range lows. So prior range lows right around 22.3. Overcoming that seems like, the most significant order of business we have. Honestly, though, from just like an under-over standpoint, this is a decent long, I think, right? We've had this kind of... So I've drawn this many times before, where you have a consolidation, breakdown, this is kind of a trap, and then you have a reversal. The strongest version of this is obviously what you want, which is treating the top of the structure as support. So you want to hold like 21 as support. And if you hold in 21 as support, then you're more than likely revisiting the underside of this. But it's not necessarily the case that always has to be, that always has to happen perfectly. Sometimes you end up finding support at prior support. If it didn't act like resistance on the way up, it might not be the best thing to lean on. But again, you do have sort of a micro change in market structure, at least a new higher low beginning to form, like a micro higher low. Still, though, it's sort of like we're back within a range. I would ultimately want to see us reclaim 21 for a larger move back to the underside of the structure. But those are just for sort of intraday plays. I think that no matter what, again, ETH is sort of in the same position as BTC, where you want to be back underneath. You want to be back in the structure. Like I said in the beginning, I don't think a whole lot has changed. I think everyone is really confident because markets have been just moving down. So tick size I use for footprint. So I'm looking at a 5-minute right now, just because the market's not ripping. So I'll use a time-based periodicity for just moving kind of slow. My tick size for this is a 25 tick, right? So you're looking at my Binance footprint. So Binance for ETH is should be 20, and my 5-minute setting is 25. But here is an example of the trap that occurred earlier. Okay, you just zoom this properly. All this selling come into the low. One sec. Just make sure this is on the screen. All this selling coming into the low, relatively even lows. CBD making stronger moves down than what actually is showing in the lows of market structure. Ton of selling at the low, and more importantly into that. Delta down, open interest up, and it's just another like 2-3K BTC that is piled into that low, and this is where the market flips, right? You have sold, 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 now retaking this, and you have that sold and hold. Right now we know that the market it's able to remain bid above, above this gap. So again, the bid is strong at that point, and you're looking at what ended up being a much larger squeeze. But yeah, 25 tick for that. If it's if I'm looking at like a trend reversal chart, it'll probably be like a 10 tick or a 15 tick. I don't really focus on BTC dominance, honestly. And I'm not seeing like a ton of strength in alts. Seeing some strength across the board. DeFi looks decent. Aave was really strong yesterday. Perp popped today, but again, took took like 150K to move that 20%. DeFi looks kind of, what I just said for ETH, DeFi looks a little bit better, right? DeFi perp. Just DeFi in general looks decent. So you have sort of this double bottom. But I think you want to see, again, similar to ETH, retaking and trading higher than where these consolidations were. But I'm not really focused on too many alts. I don't think that, against BTC, Solana, against BTC, AVAX, I don't think there's a really strong case to be made right now for like total market strength. I think you're going to see a lot of short squeezes. If price is moving up and OI is going down, it's probably that shorts are closing out. So they're covering. I don't really have a macro take on inflation in Europe right now. I know it's worse in the United States. I think we probably peaked in the United States. But I think that obviously gas prices being high and gas being high and oil continuing to go up, that's trouble for everybody. Oil it popped today pretty strong, and then we had a decent little pullback. But I mean, oil hit 120 bucks a barrel, well, just under. But now I don't have like any strong opinions on that. If we're bottoming, it's gonna, I think, just again, most important thing is it's gonna take some time. And this is possibly the extent of the move right here. Honestly, if we end up closing this 4 hour out like this, it's halfway through, which is kind of meaningless. Then maybe we're going to get that 2 to 3 day consolidation, where again, looking to catch any kind of offside shorts into this level. But if we break down further, possibly swing if we could find support at this prior high. But you want to see, no matter what, at this point, breaking up out of here, you want to see that it's really changed and that shorts are getting really aggressive. With any kind of further sign of a breakdown, you want to see that shorts are really getting offsides. But it's like 2 o'clock, and I want to do a call-in shortly. It's not a whole lot to go over with the stream. Not a whole lot has changed until, it's just going to be that way until we either retake, this prior range low, get closer there, so maybe it sets up some trades as we're around there, or have some kind of pullback to the top of this range high. Short-term scalps, like I said, I'm willing to take them all day if we get something that is, where we have a 2 to 3 day composite build and we're looking at people selling into this imbalance, right, where there's really no trading. But absent that, we're still, we have a significant change in market structure to retake. And honestly, again, because it's just worth going over. The things you don't want to hear, but you still have to hear. If we end up unable to find support at, let's say, this 22-25 region, then I don't think that this all-time high is the level we're going to find support at. So I think you have to find support at least above the 200 or at the low of our current low. So that's a decent window, but I got to change the screen. Sorry about that. If we don't find support there and we are here, I think you're getting an ugly move back down here. So it just happens to be that is where most of the volume is, right? Most of the time, most of the volume, it's like your value area. If we were looking at this as like a trend day, same thing as we're doing right now. This is like a composite, right? Here's your trending move. If we can't, and again, same idea as with, local structure, if we can't find support in this imbalance, wick into this level, catch shorts offside on a much grander scale, obviously. If the S&P continues to move down, Bitcoin's going down. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So if we can't find support at this 200 weekly, which is like the only level we have left now, the all-time high is not going to act like support. It wasn't a significant level. It was like we were there for a split second, no volume done there, an exhaustive blown off top. From a market structure standpoint, I think that this market is first, I think this market is really reflexive. This causes a panic, takes us back down here. You get some kind of ugly move into 12, 13, 14 region, and then I think that is absolutely. I mean, it's going to be the ugliest move on the chart. I think that would be a kind of a no-brainer spot buy. Like, no matter what, yeah, things could be fucked for a while, but I would say that would be, honestly, everyone uses the term generational buy for like 20%, 30% moves, which is like just tiring. But an 80% move off of the highs, that takes you to your historical threshold, right, with previous moves. No one wants that, but listen, that is as good as it gets. That is the most significant structural level on the chart. If we came down to that level, and if we came down to that level, the bounce you get off of that level probably lasts, honestly, a couple months. So you're talking about a significant move. You don't want it, but hey, it is what it is. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to rate the stream like a 6 out of 10. Had a weekend off, kind of shot. Oh, so did a rant in the beginning, but yesterday, I got to tell you, gardening is a hardcore workout. So I made a decision to, one, I like to mow my own lawn because I figured I mow my own lawn. I hate when the landscapers are here because sometimes they come here when I don't want them here and I'm like in the middle of the stream. Sounds fucked up, but whatever. They're mowing the lawn on the side of the house and it's like coming through the stream. And then, truth be told, they don't respect the garden. They sometimes cut shit that they shouldn't. They trimmed a tree before that we didn't want them to trim. So I mow my own lawn. Love mowing my own lawn. It's a great time. 2 hours. Listen to a podcast. Listen to an audiobook. Do anything, right? It's a good reason. It's just pushing something around outside, which is always good for you. But yesterday, we did a bunch of garden beds. And again, doing them on our own. My wife loves to do it. I love doing it. My dad always did it as a kid. So we picked up like 20 bags of not mulch, but garden soil, which is way heavier than mulch. And holy shit, carrying them back and forth. We drove the truck we have a new Ford F-150. We drove it through our backyard just to drop some of the stuff off, but some of the stuff you had to carry. And I was like, holy shit, man. I was sweating like a dog. Had a wicked headache at the end of the day. Couldn't drink enough water because it was just coming out. Yeah, great workout. Anyway, Top Gun, last but not least, Top Gun review. I went to Top Gun. This stream is going everywhere. But I loved Top Gun so much when I was a kid. I loved Top Gun. I loved it so much. I wanted to be a pilot when I was a kid. First thing I ever wanted to do, wanted to be a pilot. But then I found out I had really bad eyesight. I'd never qualify. I love Top Gun so much. I'd listen to Top Gun soundtrack and put headphones on over my head, over my mouth, and then over my head, and sit in my room in the dark and act like I was in a fighter plane. Absolutely ridiculous, right? But whatever. I was so young. I cried when Goose died. Like, that was horrible. But I went to go see Top Gun, took my wife, and I'm thinking, this is going to be a good movie. It's going to be a follow-up to Top Gun. Like, it's going to be an action flick, Tom Cruise, whatever. Like, I hope it's like slightly better, or I hope it's decent, right? Okay, it was probably one of the best follow-ups to an original, right? So sequel, second, it's not going to be a third, obviously. Not going to spoil anything. It's not like, I don't want to say that, I'll let you see it. But I just don't think there would be a third. So it was fucking incredible. It was incredible. It was one of the best movies I've seen. I want to say forever, but I forget every movie I love anyway. One of the best movies I've seen in years. Absolutely phenomenal. So anyway, go see Top Gun. Get out of the house. Go see a movie, which means get out of the house and then go inside a auditorium and watch a movie, but at least whatever. All right, guys, I'm going to do a call-in at 2:30. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening to the rant. There wasn't a whole lot to go over. I'm saying that because, one, I'm out of it because I haven't streamed in a few days, so maybe Thursday's stream will be better. But not a whole lot has changed. I want to see top side of previous range hold if I'm looking for a big spot position, or I want to see that we're able to build some kind of 2-3 day composite here, and then just take advantage of anyone trying to sell, anticipating a breakdown earlier. Send dick pics to girls with us. Nah, I don't know if my wife would like that. All right, guys, adios. Have a fantastic evening. If you want to hop on the call in, I will share the link in a second.